back to another live stream. If you're new here, my name is Skylar Santana, and on this channel, we are straight up nerds for timepieces. It's been a minute. I haven't done a live in a while, man, and we're going back to our roots doing this live from the car. You guys know how I have to do. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, but I wanted to check in with you guys because it has been a while. We have gone through the first month of the year. And I want to see how you guys are doing with your collection. Are you guys adding new things to your collection? Have you made your first purchase yet? Because the watch market hasn't stopped. It really hasn't come to a halter just yet. We saw releases from Christopher Ward with their Pan Am watch. There was a couple more releases. And today, I'm going to be introducing to you guys a new release from Zelos once again. This is going to be a different line. We took a look at the Mako, which I have on wrist. I'll show you guys a better shot of it as people trickle in. And I wanted to catch you guys up on what is going to come for that review that I'm going to do for it. It's a different line from Zelos. I absolutely love them. They're probably one of my top 5 brands. I don't have them in any particular order. You know, there's not like a number 1. It's just like the top 5 seed, top 10 seed, top 3. And, you know, because brands are so, they're so different in how they shine, right? If you take like, let's say Venetianico versus a Zelos, you know, there are similarities, but they both shine in different ways. So I would say Zelos is for certainly within my top 5 for very good reason. And I love what he does with the community, creating his own thing in the Facebook kind of groups where people can trade and be enthusiastic about his watches. It's what he's known for. What's going on, everybody who's just entering in? And I want to know what's on your wrist, but I more importantly want to know, what have you been doing since last month, since the new year? Have you already added something new to your collection? Because I haven't just yet, and I'm going to explain why. But first, let's get the wrist check out of the way, and I'm wearing the Zelos Mako. Let me see what happens when I flip the camera around to see if we get a better shot of that. We do. I got the Zelos Mako on here. This is the meteorite dial. This was the last release that he did for it. Now, one thing for you to understand, just for those who don't, when Zelos does a release, it's a small batch, 150 pieces, 200 pieces, and he tends to sell out right away because of that reason. If you miss that kind of release and you had a specific design that you were in love with, he will come out with new, fresh designs. And but the one that he did prior is pretty much gone, so there is kind of like a battle for getting what you want to get. That is the trade-off. There is silver lining to that and everything else. Eric Mack is in the building. What's going on, brother man? And Michael. Good afternoon, Skylar. Good afternoon, sir. And what's going on? So we're going to be talking about Zelos today. I don't know how long I'm going to do this live. I'm not planning to be on here for too long. I always say that and I end up staying longer. But yeah, man, I did get what he's going to be releasing. Now, I don't think that there was an embargo. There was no embargo in the email. It is coming out the 3rd week of this month where he's going to release the information. And then a few days after that, he's going to do the drop. I wanted to get in here and talk about not this watch, the one I'm going to show you, because I want to get ahead of that. I want to get people prepared. Again, with Zelos, if you miss the release and it's sold out, you have to wait for the next iteration. Some people don't like that. Some people don't like the fact that they could possibly miss out on a watch that they really, really like. Let me show you guys this Zelos again, this Mako Meteorite that I absolutely love. This was the first review we did from them, and then I kind of understood the magic behind them, right? I gave you guys all the specifications specifically for this watch, so I'm not going to run through that again. The design factor is there, and you know what? I had conversations. Shout out to my man JC Watch. He's an avid Zelos collector, and I had to ask him straight up, man. I said, look, I own a Zelos now, so I kind of understand where you're coming from, but you own tons of them. Like, what's the deal and everything else? And he gave me a long explanation. He gave me a better insight of it. And I want to know, the guys that are in chat right now, is Zelos a brand that you look forward to? Is it something that you added to your collection? And what have you added to your collection already this year, if anything? But I have it, like I said, because I'm holding out for the Grail watch, which is the Acrotron, which is going to be either the Space View 2020 or what's the other model that looks like it? I forget, but there's one that's very similar. When I get closer to, which is probably going to be the end of the year, I'll have a better idea. I got to put them on wrist, of course, and then we'll take it from there. And I think that that is going to be my move this year. I think I'm going to try to hold out. Okay, and I know what you guys are gonna say in the comments. Calm down. I'm gonna try to hold out all year round before unless the Traska jump hour comes out. I know it's been a lot for the jump hours like there's been a whole plethora of jump bars that have been released, but that Traska design is one that I actually do like. I did see it at wind up, so I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like on wrist and everything else. But aside from that watch, I'm gonna try not to buy. Now, I do get watches into the channel, so I know it's easy for me to say, but still, that's my plan at least. Hannibal Lecter is in the building. What's going on, brother? Oscar, of course, not the Grouch, is also here. What's going on, brother? Mega is in the building, I believe. I just seen him now. He's Michael's wearing his Islander. I love Islander. Big advocate for Islander. In fact, they're one of my top 3 brands that I would recommend for a first-time purchase for somebody with mechanical watches. And then you could stick with the brand altogether because he's got different micro brands within it and everything. I'm tempted to get a Zelos, but can't pass their price tags. Can't get past their price tags. I'm more into the sensible priced watches, which is crazy, Michael, because all right, so I know what you're saying. They have price points that are much higher. When he does more, when Elshan does more with the movements and puts more into the watches, what I love about it is he mix and matches different materials into dials, sometimes adds complications, sometimes reworks old movements, giving them a refurbish and putting them into the watch. We saw that as well. So very versatile, but they have the underlying thing of giving materials into their watches and having all the bells and whistles and effectively doing so. Now, when we talk about, let's say, Michael, this one right here, the Mako, or the GT, which he's gonna do a new release in, which I'm gonna show you guys that in a minute. Those are around $400. And we're talking about Miyota movement here, right? So price point can be actually pretty effective and aggressive for certain models. And if you talk about this Mako, I think this was 4 and change. This was one of the higher price tags because it was meteorite. And it was 4 and change, maybe a little bit over 5 for Miyota movement, the finishing and everything you're gonna get. If you haven't watched my review for this, you should. The finishing, it's very smooth on the outside bracelet. You have quick release, you have on the fly, which is just a pull drag system. The finishing is not top of the line. You're not getting Grand Seiko here, but you are getting something very respectable. You're gonna have to get up on it with a jeweler's loop if you really want to see like it could be technically better, but very good. And there's a lot of design factor, right? The fact that he did the indices in colored loom, which usually makes me nervous because, as you guys know, with colored loom, sometimes they try to do the faux patina, not particularly on this watch. The loom strength is sacrificed, and I didn't get that here. It's shown in the review, so check that out if you haven't done so. And I was just really impressed, and I really didn't think that this baby blue would match the meteorite, but I get why he did it when I got the watch in. And I think that most of his watches are not just thrown up against the wall, they're done intentionally, and you're gonna see that with the watch that I'm about to show you guys. Zelos has some of the best being for buck. Yeah, top tier tickers in the building. Congratulations with your release, man. The clock tower, I think, was a huge success. When we last touched base, you said that you're not completely sold out yet. I believe the green was still there, and there was another color here in the chat so you could put it. Guys, if you haven't checked out his watch release, his channel is fantastic. Top tier ticker, Kieran. Absolute legend, and he did his own micro brand, and I love that because yes, it can be a slippery slope, but reviewers tend to have their finger on the pulse and know what watch enthusiasts want out of it. So, and he did a watch that's not typically seen, especially for the first release, something small, something classic, something with a lot of essence and a lot of meaning and a lot of everything else, and a smaller size, respectable movement. So check that out if you haven't done so just yet. What was I going to say? But yeah, going back to Zelos, and Kieran is even putting his own 2 cents in here. I think the bang for buck, and I don't think that that's the only reason why people go with it, because his designs are nice. Now, the only thing, again, like I mentioned, there are limited runs, 150, 200 pieces. But remember this, guys. This is why I think that's a positive thing. And Kieran, you probably understand this a little bit better now, owning your own micro brand. It keeps things fresh. It keeps things flowing. You don't have overstock. You don't have things left over. What I'm saying to you is that it keeps the brand healthy, right? They don't have the overstock. They sell out. It is more pressure on the brand to come out with a new release every single time, and he just has the imagination to do so. He clearly is able to execute that effectively by continuously selling out, so I'm not mad at that at all. So, what are you guys saying in chat? Let me try the champagne, around 20 left. Yeah, guys, 20 left on his champagne dial. I would grab the OG, because Kieran is going nothing but up, right? He's got his finger on the pulse. All he needs, I think, is capital to do probably some crazy stuff moving forward. And you probably want to grab those too, but it's something about getting the original. Like when you saw I had the Mark Time M12, the 6 was fantastic. I just did a review for that. But there's something about having the OG, you know what I mean? I mean, technically the OG was the one with the big M. We ain't gonna do that. But the M12 was fantastic. And, you want to get the original, man. It's like getting the original Pokemon set. You know what I mean? The original ones, the original holographs, mint condition. What are we talking about here? Brews in the building. Brews in the building? Like Brew watches? Oh, Brew watches. I got to do a review of my Brew watches. I have that on my agenda. I've talked about it in my lives, as you know. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us. I'm gonna change the style of my brew review. It's not gonna be so technical like I've done with the reviews thus far. I try to give you guys all the waking details, and I wanna do that because the brands are sending me the watch, so I wanna cover all the bases. But Brew, I actually purchased. Jonathan is a fantastic human being. I wanna talk about his culture and his vibe because I've been connected through the pop-ups and everything else. I don't wanna give you guys too much because I want you guys to hear it from the review video that I'm gonna do. But it's a culture, it's a vibe, it's New York. I always say, represent your New York brands. You gotta represent them. And yo, out of all my watches, it just has this attraction to it where even people who are not watch enthusiasts say, yo, hey, that's a cool watch. And that's happened to me literally in my life when I was wearing my Brew Metric Retro. So that's that. Welcome into the channel. What else are we saying in chat? Let me catch up. Just got the first Citizen automatic diver. Citizen's fantastic, man. I want to eventually get my hands on a Ciosa just to get my feet wet. I do have a Blue Angels. I can make a review of that. I should. There's a lot of watches in my collection. Guys, I am going to start tapping into the watches in my collection. The review style that I'm talking about that I'm going to change is having those watches years on the wrist, giving you guys more of a vibe. I could put the specifications on screen, but I want to talk about what has been my journey with the watch. And Brew is part of that because I've owned it for a better part of a year. I think actually closer to 2 years now. And then I got the Lumi Mint, which is an all loom dial, which is fantastic. So you're going to see what I'm saying when I actually do the videos itself. Quit Hannibal trying to, okay. I'm tempted. Okay, I read that. Let me catch up. Make sure you guys are good. All right, you guys are jiving. So, without further ado, how much? With 12 minutes in, let me show you guys what the new Zelos release is going to be. And again, I'm showing you this because when it's released, it's got a timer. He's going to do a couple days before, so you guys can get a good look at it. But I want to give you guys the preempt, and I'm also going to do the review. Hopefully, will be no, not hopefully. I'm going to get it done before the release date, so you guys can really. But the newest Zelos that's going to be coming out, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the GT line. And just look at that phenomenal color. This, look, I'm not so much a car guy, so those of you who are car guys are going to get this watch a lot better than I. But what I loved about the Zelos, first and foremost, for this GT was the movement that was utilized here. I'm a sucker, and I could zoom in, let's do that. I'm a sucker for this right here, and this is a power reserve at the 9 o'clock. Absolute sucker. It has a fuel gauge because it says F and E for empty. This is the Miyota 9133, I believe. Yeah, 9133. So it's a dual complication with the date aperture here at the 3 o'clock. You guys see the hands here. You see the applied logo, applied indices. The hands are actually coated in black. It has semi-skeletonized base, loomed at the tip, loomed at the actual indices itself. That's also color coded. So a typical Zelos when it comes to the actual finishing, design, wow factor, I think it's very super clean. What's nice about this too, and you won't know by just looking at it, is that it has actual car paint that they utilized for the dial itself. You see here on the date wheel aperture, it is color coded. It has like a surround on it as well. A lot of people like the actual shape of that. Let me see if I could zoom in a little bit more. A lot of people like that date wheel aperture shape and everything else. And of course, you know, you're gonna get the quick release. You're gonna get the on-the-fly adjustment. Now, this is that pull drag system, works really well. Now, some people like to have that button that they came out with the actual clasp. I am okay with them not doing that here because that is going to make this thicker. You do want to balance the actual watch head. And as far as dimensions go, it's going to be released in 2 sizes. You're either going to have a 40 or a 42. Now, looking at this watch up front, you're going to get Seiko turtle vibes. Yes, the case shape is going to give that. So it's going to wear smaller on wrist because of that lug to lug. And on my calipers, I measured a diameter of 40.7, but it's going to be effectively sold as a 40 millimeter. Now you're going to have these, what do you call it, crown guards, right? That kind of look like pushers. You have the tachymeter style chapter ring. So that's alluding to those old classical style chronographs that they used for racing on their watches itself. They're absolutely beautiful. Attention to detail on them as well because they are brushed and polished on the beveled edges, just like the side profile of the case itself. So it runs parallel, it matches, it makes sense. And that's, again, a 40.7 is what I measured. Lug to lug of 45 millimeters for the 40. It's a little bit more on the 42. The thickness is 12.4 millimeters. It has a domed sapphire crystal, so that's gonna add a little bit to it. I'm gonna show you guys what that looks like as well. Lug width is a strap-friendly 20 millimeters on here. The crown is 6.8 millimeters right on the button. I always feel like the crown needs to be closer to 7 millimeters, and it should have knurling. Now, if you think about the Casio Edifice Automatic, that had a smooth finish to it, but was still, and it was kind of on the small size, that's a double-edged sword. That's a no-no. You want to have crazy knurling, and in my opinion, if you have less knurling and less grip, you definitely want to be close to 7 millimeters. That's why I always say crown size matters, and you don't realize this until you deal with the Tissot PRX, right, the automatic. It's a little annoying because it's on the smaller side, but the Casio Edifice is even more annoying because it's slippery, and that's because of the polished, I believe, finish that they had on there. The water resistance for this is 100 meters, so it's going to give you that Gata style, especially with how the design factor is here for the dial. Love the 100 meters of water resistance. The weight is 73 grams for the watch head alone, and effectively 158 grams for the bracelet fully linked, okay? So nice heft on there, great balance on the actual bracelet for the clasp itself to balance out the watch head. Again, I think it was a smart play to not do that push-in logo to do the adjustment because that's going to be thicker. You want it to be slim and sleek to match the design of the watch altogether. And it's inspired by the GT cars as well. So it all falls into place. When I wear it on wrist, which I'm going to show you next, it wears even flusher, which is what I really, really enjoyed. It definitely wears like 11.5, I would say, on wrist. And I think that that's pretty. Hold on, let's back it out. So you see the side profile here, very, very slim. Here's down the barrel. I'm sorry for the lighting, guys. I'm literally doing this in my car, so you know how it goes. This is going to be what it looks like on my wrist. I have a 7¼ inch wrist. This is the 40 millimeter version. Again, the diameter effectively looks bigger, like a Seiko King Turtle, which I am all right with so long as the lug to lug is snug for those who have a smaller wrist. Now, what else do I have to say? Let me catch up on chat. I'll buy it for $5, guys. Let's stop playing, bro. I got $5. I definitely own the white panel in with no windows. Oh my God. What are you doing to me right now, bro? Tutor. Okay, you guys are talking amongst yourself. Fantastic. See, you guys are already used to me going off on tangents and everything else, so I'll just keep going. If you have anything, just put my name on chat so I know it's addressed to me. Now, I wanted to show you that side profile for what I was talking about. So what I love about this here is that it looks almost like it's a stepped kind of bezel with the way it was polished in this. It's like a polished sandwich. It goes brushing, polished beveled edge, and then brushing for the top side interior view. And then the crystal is like a dome. So you get that kind of stepped type of feel. It looks thicker than what it actually is, because you know what? What happens is when I put this watch on my wrist, the back side that you see curving down kind of disappears, and I'll show you guys that again, just so you can kind of visualize what I mean. And it's super comfortable, man. Like, since I've been wearing it, as you guys know, when I do these reviews, I stress test them. I put them through their paces, I put them on the time graph, I test everything out, I wear the watch. This way I can get everything and all the details for that kind of feel. And again, you guys see how the bottom of the watch kind of disappears in my wrist? And of course I have a flat top wrist, so that matters if you have more of a rounded wrist as well. The bracelet is fully brushed. It has a taper of 16 millimeters, a 20 to 16 millimeter down to the clasp, and it's absolutely fantastic. I have, I think, the dimensions here. It is going to be a male end link, so it's going to be 50.3 millimeters when you measure it, but it has that curve, as you guys can see on my wrist. It has that curve, so it's not going to wear like that. It's just for you guys to know. It is a solid male end link. It does have a 90-degree drop off after the fact, so it's almost going to be hidden to that effect. And talking of screw-in links, by the way, oh my God, the screws on this watch, when I talk about buttery smooth, and what you got to do is when you unscrew a link and you take that screw out, you remove the link and you put it back and you want to put it, always push that screw down. Screw it towards, like how if you were trying to open that screw again, let it click and then screw it in to tighten it, because then the threads kind of line up, just like how you would do with this screw down crown, right? When you screw down a crown, you don't want to just open it, set it, and then push it down and close it. And I'll show you what I mean. Here's me opening it, right? That's an open. And then what I kind of do is I fix my fingers to put it like if I was like loosening it, right? I wait for a small click. That was the click, and then I screw it in. You're effectively lining up the threading, and you're not having a misthread. That's important. Everybody loves a screw down crown, but you can actually wear out the crown tube threads by not lining it up. And the worst thing that you want is to misalign that, and then it just has all that resistance, and you may try to tighten it even more, throwing it more out of whack, and you're wearing down those threads even faster. So that's likewise when you deal with screws inside the links. You want to put that screw in, push it down, turn it, hear that click, and then tighten it in. Just a little something for those who may not know. What are you guys talking about? Hannibal suggested that price. Yeah, that's out of control. Skylar, who do you have tonight? I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean specifically? What kind of car? That's a mystery, man. I got to keep that. It's the Batmobile. My car is the Batmobile. It's nothing impressive. I'm not a car guy, personally. Respect, and I understand how people, and that's why I love that I have this watch. I know that I'm not a car guy, but there's a lot of people who associate collecting watches with cars, which is why this GT line is fantastic. It's why he effectively sells them. And I'll tell you what, moving forward, I can understand and appreciate a car's engine, a car's design, because of the mechanics that I appreciate from a watch. It all ties together, and I completely understand why everybody likes that. So you probably want to know what I found as improvements for the watch. So everything that we've covered so far, as the case, and the case back, I want to show that to you guys too, because it's absolutely phenomenal. It's very subtle, very sleek, but as you guys can see, it's a car design. It's got a bead blast with I think this is a polished, raised silhouette of a GT car, right? I love that, man. It's sexy, it's classy, it's sleek, it's clean, it's not abrasive. If you want to throw a little engraving on there, it has room for that as well. I think you might be able to engrave on a bead blast with laser either way. And you know what? It might have been interesting to see that movement because you don't see it that often. I would imagine that the 9133 movement is not that decorated, but it is a little different. So maybe a see-through case back, but you guys know how I feel. See-through caseback, exhibition casebacks require an additional seal, water compromising and everything else, blah, blah, blah. I'm okay with a solid caseback. It effectively makes things thinner in proportion when you put it on wrist. So I prefer it to be a solid caseback, and that's what we get here with a phenomenal engraving on it as well. And what he did as well, just as a designer cue, he did the bead blast logo on here as well. So you guys see that bead blast there, and then on the crown, all 3 points match up. Let's see if we can get that to focus. Let's back it up and then zoom it in maybe. Let's see, there you go. You see the bead blast and you see the logo as well on here. He does that on all his watches, so that shouldn't come too much of a surprise. But I love the colorway that he's done for this. This is the one that I chose. The lug opening is also phenomenal. The way that it's shaped the way that it's curved, right? You have more of that straight kind of attachment. So if you would imagine you put a strap onto this, it's gonna be very close. Now that may be a danger zone for your thicker straps. I put the zero pass strap on here. I barely was able to feed it through, which was kind of a good bad thing, because when you have the zero pass by the Anachronist shop, in case you guys know, that's Mac's company for effectively a no passing through the back of the watch for a NATO style kind of look, right? So a lot of people don't like that because you lose the function of a NATO strap, but honestly, the last time I had a spring bar failure was never. It was maybe because I didn't put the spring bar in correctly, but it does kind of get close when it comes to that. So if you have anything that you're feeding it through, but when you're putting a leather strap on here, when you're putting a FKM, like a Montreux FKM on here, you guys are gonna see images of that of the review. Very, very close to the case. It has that nice shape to it as well. It almost looks integrated, if you will, right? Like at first glance, I kind of thought this was integrated. It almost looks like it does. There's no play in between here, which is fantastic. I love that shape of it all together. And then of course, in between those lugs, he has the finishing done there as well. So there's gonna be always a lot of details into the Zelos, which he's known for. Now, going back to the improvements, here's the deal. And I was trying to find the right wording for it yesterday. Actually, my wife gave me a perfect way to label it. So the bracelet is smooth to the touch on the side that's touching your wrist, which is the most important thing. And I was able to put this back, so that's how easy it is for the quick release. However, on the opposite side, which is the top side of the bracelet corners, especially, oh, actually even throughout it, it's a dull sharpness. If you would imagine a butter knife and those ridges on the butter knife, that's what it feels like. It for sure is not gonna puncture your skin by rubbing on it, but I'm gonna have to mention that into the review. It is there, and I was surprised because on the Mako, it's actually finished with a beveled edge on the top of the bracelet. So it's really, really smooth here and really, really smooth in the bottom. But again, keep in mind that the side that's actually touching your wrist is very smooth. This one's like a dull sharpness, not crazy sharp, but it is crisp, if you will. So I had to mention that. Other than that, I test this against the loom with the Mako as well. It's a little shy. And on the fuel gauge, there's actual loom here for this needle point, like kind of like a capped needle point, like you would have on your fuel gauge of your car. This point is loomed as well. Obviously, for the surface area that it's covering, it's not going to hold a tremendous amount of loom. It does shine when you first hit that nocturnal setting, but all of the indices in the hands are a smidge behind the divers. Now, why is that completely okay? Well, the diver is an actual tool watch. The loom, if you were using it for an actual dive, we don't do that anymore. There's computer systems. Even professional divers will have a computer system alongside their mechanical watch. It's more of a nostalgia thing. It's more of a style. But this is an actual tool watch, and therefore the loom is going to be more important. And another improvement that I had for it was the actual hands and their visibility and clarity, right? It's not as, and let me wipe that down real quick. I'm gonna put this up against also the Mako, which again, it's a good comparison because it's still Zelos, but keep in mind that they're different watches, right? So he effectively covered these hands in a blue shine, a black shine, if you will. And from a distance, without me zooming, legibility can be a little tricky when it comes to that. Even when I'm in a lower light setting, like I pretty much have the watch in a lower light setting because I don't have direct light. I do apologize for that. But you could see the legibility of the hands are not 100% visible versus, let's say, the actual Mako diver where you're like, boom. Now that has also contributed to the hands being skeletonized at the base. And sorry, I'm like reaching forward. Here we go. Let me actually zoom too. So you could see the visibility of the hands and everything else. So that is one thing to note as well. But again, we're using this more for class, for style. Many of you who own really nice cars will probably want to pair this watch with it, with its actual theme. The fuel gauge is a nice nod to it. On the bracelet itself, it has these little slack lines also in the middle bracelet, which is also to resemble the engine cover of a GT car as well. So there's a lot of hidden things that are within it that relate to a car as well. And those were the only two improvements that I could give you guys. Now, don't misrepresent what I'm saying. I'm not saying the loom is bad. What I'm saying is it is a touch behind the other Mako Zelos, which is a diver and effectively meant to be have more visibility and have more loom altogether. What are you guys saying on chat? I do apologize. Anything for me? Let's see what you guys are saying. I don't want this, Fred. And again, in the beginning of this live, guys, I want to know if you guys made any new purchases so far in the year. I've held out so far. I want to get my Accutron by the end of the year. I want to save up for that. That's around $3,000-$4,000. So it's no, cheap watch, if you will. But what makes that a grail watch for me is the fact that all of the technology within the watch altogether is fascinating, right? We're living through history when it comes to it. How many times do you come across a brand who makes a watch that has 20 plus patents, right? At this point, you can't even fully understand the watch because there's still patents to be approved before they can release how it actually works, right? And even when it comes to it, it's a very technical watch to build. There's a lot of room temperature, special situations that has to go down when they're building the watch. And if you haven't seen all of the features into it, I did feature them in my wind-up video. So Richard is the best person to have that explanation. Maybe we'll have him on the channel. Brew, if you're still watching, Jonathan, I definitely want to do a one-on-one with you as well. And he can explain kind of that watch a lot better than I can. But again, what fascinates me for my grill watch being that one is all the technology and how we're living through history with it. There's just nothing like it. Is it mechanical? Is it quartz? The answer is yes, and everything else. So I love that about there. And I want to know what's on your radar. What have you purchased so far? Oh, and what's the goal? Because here's the deal. I'm slimming down the collection at this point. I feel like, you guys know my golden number for a watch collection is 31 for the longest day of the month. I don't foresee me being able to get there anytime soon. I have so many watches that have so much sentimental value to them that I'm just not ready yet to let go. But I am going to be slimming it down. At least 9 are on my target. I got rid of 1 already. I'm going to just do giveaways for them. They're not very expensive watches, so there's no greater feeling than gifting a watch, especially when the person doesn't expect it. And when it comes to those watches that I still want to have access to, I could give it to my brother or something like that, and if I ever have to do a review of it or anything else. But guys, I like to keep my watches. As you can see with the Zelos Mako, I still have this watch. I'm going to have this watch, and I'm so glad that I've thought to do that because now I have something hands-on that I can compare it to. Likewise, with that improvement to the bracelet that I talked about, it was super smooth on the Mako, and therefore it fell a little short. It fell short, period, when it came to the GT that's going to be released. Other than those 2 improvements for legibility on the hands and the finishing on the outside of the bracelet, phenomenal watch. That's going to be released in a 40 and a 42. They're going to have a carbon version of this that's going to be on leather. Completely sold out on their last batch, so I expect them to do the same. And I know that, like what you guys are saying in chat, you absolutely are digging Zelos. I think that for what you're getting, again, this is a Miyota movement that's not typically seen. It has that power reserve indication. For those who don't know what a power reserve is, this is just effectively telling you how much power is in the watch, something that may be lost on people when you have so many devices that tell you how much battery you have, like the phone that I'm using now. But very, very nostalgic, very, very appreciated on a complication for a movement on a watch that's not typically served. So buy complication on here for the date as well. Another good thing that he did, which was phenomenal, not only did he do that needle point kind of gauge style for the actual second hand, which reaches all the way out to the chapter ring here, that's a tachymeter style kind of vintage look, but he also kept the dial from being overcrowded. Everything is nicely balanced. I'm so glad that he just did the GT here. Some feel like that G should be more of a capital regular G, if you will, just for clarity. It kind of looks like a little lost in there. But again, you have to be so picky when you're coming at this watch for improvements. And you guys know how I do. I don't just pick at an improvement just to do so. That's annoying. if I'm gonna say something, it's because it's an actual improvement for the brand moving forward. And again, I think that the finishing on the outside should be a little bit more smooth. In fact, there should be a beveled edge at that point, right? And that would match the actual beveled edge of the case itself, having a polishing beveled edge north and south, effectively making this a brushed sandwich. And then this top portion, sorry, it's so blurry, this top version being a polished sandwich, if you will. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Power reserve is useful also. It is very useful, Fred, and welcome in. I'm pretty sure you entered in a little bit early. I not only find it useful, dude, I find it super, super cool. When it's done tastefully, when it blends into the dial like it does with this watch, like from a distance, it's not hard on the eyes, it blends in. That's the way it was supposed to do. I do have a subjective kind of improvement. Because it's a fuel gauge and it actually has the F and E here, I think that the last one should have been a red marker, but remember, he was trying to make that portion of it kind of disappear into the dial, which is why he did it the way he did it, and in those yellow markers, which is not too bright, it's not too loud, and it fades into the minute markers that he has on there as well, so it makes sense. And I see a super chat, so you know what time it is, ladies and gentlemen. You know what time it is. Hold on, let me make sure I got everything else. Joker's in the building. What's going on, bro? How you been? How you living? What's going on with you? Gaetano, I think I said hi. I don't know. Gaetano's in the building. Raymond's in the building. We got a lot of people here that are regular flyers. Oscar Nunez with the I got lightheaded. Super chat. Appreciate you, brother. What do you say? So it started. Yeah, man. It started to go off. 2026, the first. Super chat. Appreciate you, bro. I really, really appreciate the support on the channel. Appreciate you guys in the chat as well. You guys make it all worth it for sure. I didn't even schedule this, and you guys still show love. You still pop in. I really, really do appreciate you. Skylar, I own the dad watch from Interstellar. That is the it's either the Murph or the help me out here. Yeah. I know which watch you're talking about. I know. You know what's funny? I own the Murph now, and I'll tell you what. I've never felt like a one watch collection was possible. I don't have it with me, unfortunately. But since owning that watch, I get it. Swiss made, I get it. I get it. Does that mean that I shy away from my microbrands? Nay, nay, nay. I want to be a connoisseur of microbrands and independent brands and Swiss made watches as well, right? Now that I got my feet wet, I started with the Tissot PRX. We got the Squale 1521, and we have the, I get it, right? Even when I'm looking into that movement on the Hamilton, I'm like, yeah, this thing could last a generation or two. Service it, treat it, actually beat it up because it is modern, right? And it's a strap monster. There's no strap that I own that doesn't look at least decent on that watch. So when it comes to a one watch collection, when it comes to that type of watch that our fathers and grandfathers, because they didn't have a 60 watch collection, they had the watch and then maybe another watch that they used for cutting the grass. But other than that, man, every watch they own was a gotta watch, you know what I mean? So it's the Murph, and it's bothering me, but I know exactly what you're talking. That's a big boy. That's a big boy. Matter of fact, I saw that watch in the Anachronist shop when he was showing off his cases, showing that watch fits. It's a big boy. Do I need that one? I don't need it, but maybe you gotta pair the two together. If I could get a great price, and that brings up another subject I want to talk with you guys, man, because I'll tell you what, man. The used market is strong for sure, especially when it comes to those more expensive watches. Micro brands tend to be more affordable. If you're talking about a Brew watch, if you're talking about the Zelos, if you're talking about an Islander, if you're talking about all the other brands that we've talked about here already, you know, they tend to be more affordable depending on what your situation is, respectfully. They still are expensive, you know, we get desensitized. But when it comes to a Squale, when it comes to a Hamilton Murph, man, there's a great market there, and I'll tell you what, there's other collectors that have so many watches that they don't beat that watch up so much, they barely wear it. I've bought several watches that were secondhand, that were at a 50-60%, and I peeled off stickers on them. That's insane. I was just talking to about another collector with that. So if you guys are going after bigger watches, especially when it comes to like the Swiss made watches, you know, other than some micro brands that are still being Swiss made and everything else, then that's that. LOL, Skylar is crazy. I am crazy, bro. I'm crazy drunk on this enthusiasm for watches. I agree with you. Points made on the power reserve design. I like how it blends, and that's key, man. And I did feel like a pop of red for that E marker would have been parallel to how, but at the same time, it's going to be a focal point at that part. And then as you can see, the focal point is really the second hand, which is why it looks like the needle point pointer in your gauges in your car, which is on theme for it as well. And another thing, not to skip over on the date wheel aperture, he went with black there. That's just indicating, you know, I should probably move the hand. That just indicates that he understands that enthusiasts prefer that kind of stealthiness to it, right? Because if that was white, and then you have the yellow for the actual numbers too. So design-wise, he has not failed me yet. Zelos has not failed me on design. He's not failed me on actual value for money. I mentioned those improvements, but even still, a phenomenal watch all around. And I definitely would say that you can add this to your collection, especially if you're a car guy, and you should. If one floats your boat, when you guys see the release, there's going to be several other colorways for sure. Matter of fact, I have some notes for the script I wrote for the review where I break that down. So let me give you guys that before we sign off. How long have we been on? 40 minutes. The GT is available in two different sizes, that 40 and 42. 5 models for the 40 millimeter. You guys are going to see the colorways when he releases it finally. I think that's going to be around the 21st of this month. 3 models in the 42. There's also 2 options on there that are going to be carbon. And for the 40, there's gonna be 5 models with 5 models for the 40 millimeter and 3 models for the 42 millimeter. I think that there's 2 or 3 models that are gonna be carbon with the leather strap, and then you're gonna get the option for the stainless with the stainless steel actual. I would love to see a model of the Zelos that has that actual push button for the adjustment, just to see it. I would imagine that pairs better with a bigger model because of the bulkiness that it's going to give. If you would imagine the size of these 2 clasps, let's zoom out because it looks really, really big. Okay, so the size of these 2 clasps, right? This is the GT, and then this is the Mako, right? So you see the size difference. That's why I say it's proportional for the watch. They're both technically 40 millimeters. So let me just show you guys as I go back and forth with the camera. So they're both 40 millimeters to be fair, but this watch does look bigger because of that diameter and because of the crown guards. But it does wear nicely because of the lug to lug as well. But it has a sleeker design on the side profile, which is why the clasp makes sense to match with that sleeker design and everything else, which is what I'm saying for the push as well. Phoebus are bricks. They are pretty thick, and they're utilizing mostly the NH movement, and that's possibly the reason why. I'm not going to say that that is the specific reason why, because we've seen slimmer NH35s. I have a San Martin and I have a Notice that effectively make it. You guys educated me, you're probably in chat, on how it's just the choice of case size and thickness and customization, right? Putting the money to design a specific case, because a lot of people assume that the NH35 or the NH34 for the GMT is just going to come with a thicker case. It doesn't have to. In fact, my no, that's a Miyota movement. But my Notice for sure, and my San Martin, which is almost like a skin diver, I think that's around, I want to say 10 to 11-ish millimeters in thickness, are slimmer because of the fact of their design on the case. So it doesn't have to be, but you typically get smaller cases when it comes to Miyota, most of which are going to be more of a custom and everything else. What else you guys are saying? Zelos versus Phoebus, who are you taking? You know, and again, I made a top 5 when I first started this live. I said that I have like a top 5 of micro brands that I would recommend. I can't pin a Zelos and a Phoebus. I really truly feel, owning both on several models now, that they give a completely different type of vibe. Now, it depends on what you value, right? If you value more of Miyota, not saying that Phoebus doesn't give any Miyota, but I'm saying that Zelos tends to use Miyota and up, to where Phoebus does utilize NH35 to keep their price point, and that's just the way they do it. But they also don't do limited runs, which gives them also a higher buying power per model that they're coming out with. And I'm sure, listen, I'm not saying that Zelos also doesn't have buying power, because at the end of the day, yes, he's coming out with new dials and this, but at the end of the day, most of the cases are the same and everything else. So he probably has a batch of that. But, you know, it just depends on what you value more. I don't want to pin brands up against each other, because I truly, personally, as an enthusiast, value each brand a little differently, and that may be even far beyond the watch. It may be what they're contributing to the community and how they connect and everything else. So, it's almost my birthday. Well, happy early birthday, Mr. Joker. I'm deciding between a Panerai do or a Carl Butcher GMT. Which one should I buy? And Joker, I am not the guy, because I don't like to give recommendations watches I haven't handled before. It's kind of like a blind, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, what do you recommend? What car do you recommend I buy? And then I don't drive either one, or have never driven either one, right? So like when I do a review, when I do a live like this and I'm showing you the Zelos watch and I'm making a comparison to certain models, or specifically other models from Zelos, I'm hands-on with both of these, right? So when I say that this bracelet is smoother than the new bracelet, or not the new bracelet, but the new lineup that he's coming out, these are factual things. They're hands-on. They're things that I'm actually tangibly dealing with here. So I love the 41. And I'll tell you what, had I not gotten this watch on wrist, there's some reviews from the other GT models that Zelos has come out with. A lot of them have said that it wears the same way that I'm telling you here. But if I didn't have that, and I saw the 42 and I saw the 40, I may have been tempted for the 42, because I have a 7¼ inch wrist. As you guys can tell, I'm 6'4", so I have a very long wrist. I could deal with a wider diameter so long as the lug to lug. But because the 40 almost wears like a 42, I'm very glad and happy that I went with the 40 on the GT versus the 42. Now, if you have an 8-inch wrist or something really big, definitely go with the 42. But if you're planning to get the watch, I'd say a 40 could probably do best for a large range, due to that lug to lug being very, very small. I think it was 45 millimeters prior the male end links to that watch as well. Let me go back. 45 millimeters, correct, on my calipers. Yeah, I just heard for the money right now. Laco's good. Handhard is phenomenal, for sure. Notice is such an elegant executed sports watch brand, West Coast American design, Chinese manufacturing, can't beat it. Just like the iPhone. And that's a very good point, man. Dude, almost every brand that I've dealt with has a China or Chinese manufacturing. There's nothing wrong with it. They have phenomenal stuff that they can produce, and they will produce so long. Listen, it's all about money. If you're gonna pay them, they're gonna give you a good quality. Gone is the day where you're gonna have a butchered manufacturing, unless you're really trying to have a BS manufacturing. Does that make any sense? And so if it keeps costs down, because when we get the final product, prior to even learning where the origins of manufacturing is, we always look for what the end price is. That's what really matters most. And I think brand owners also understand this as well. So you may get the boo-hoo from some people on it, and I'm not saying that's what you were trying to do with that comment. It's just bringing up ideas in my mind. But notice, yeah, innovation. When I think about notices too, with the Notex clasp, I know that we already have on-the-fly adjustment from brands across the board, but the fact that they have their own design specifically for it, the fact that they take the NH35 and they take it a mile longer by giving you those manufactured cases that are specifically thinner. I love it, man. I have the Watch Crunch version, and I'm excited to see them soon. I haven't seen them in a while, man. I got to touch base with them. I got to catch up. I want to rub elbows, and I think that they're a fantastic recommendation as well. I love their candy color versions that they have on their specific. They just have fantastic stuff. Excuse me. What are we talking about? I read the notice. I'm jumping around in chat. Hang on now. Okay, I read that. Oh, Francisco with the super chat. I appreciate you, bro. First time in your live chat. Well, welcome in, man. The water's warm. Dive in. I appreciate you. First time and giving me a super chat, dude. I really do appreciate that. I hope you're having some fun here. I hope you could feel the enthusiastic vibes that are coming through the phone. I do appreciate that. Super chat. Appreciate you, bro. First time in. Appreciate you big time. Skylar, I'm out in the middle of the street holding a sign that says need help, give watches, all because you and Trap. Man, dude, you buy at least a watch a week. At least a watch a week. I want you to stop capping over here. That's what I need you to do right now. Yeah, man, so that's all I had for you guys. We're probably pretty much gonna wrap this up as we get closer to 50 minutes. I want to make sure that there was nothing here that I missed. I didn't give you guys everything. I have all my, I almost said show notes. I have all of my notes for the review that I'm going to do for this Zelos GT that's going to be coming out. I think he's releasing the information on the 21st, and then the actual release is going to be around the 26th. Those aren't straightforward, dead on target things. Those are what he's trying to do for the release. So I just want to create that, information for you guys because there's limited supplies when it comes to his actual releases itself. I think this is like 150 pieces specifically for this model, likewise for the other ones that you're going to see coming out for him. And I'm sure a lot of you are going to enjoy that car theme. And I thought that the car paint utilized on the dial, I know that's kind of like a niche thing and everything else, but I thought that that was pretty cool for sure, especially for those car lovers out there. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything while you guys wrap up your last questions and concerns. If you have any other questions for this watch. Oh, the crown. That was another improvement. So the crown, a little a little gritty when screwing it in. Not as smooth also as the Mako, being honest here. Issues with it? No. Sturdy? Yes. But a little gritty when you're feeding the screw down crown into the crown tube as well. Not detrimental for sure, but has to be mentioned to be fair. But everything else gives you that gotta feel. Looks beautiful on the FKM. I put this on the Zero Pass strap, like I said. It has like that vintage type of tone on the Anachronist shop. It kind of ages over time. You guys are gonna see it in the B-roll shots for this. It really looks handsome and slick as well for that. And then you get to enjoy that caseback design for it as well without it interfering. Let me make sure I got everything here. That's the case, the dial. You guys are gonna get all this on the review for sure. 150 pieces. Price. Yeah, well, let me give you guys the price. Why not? So the GT model by Zelos is going to be $429 on stainless steel and $489 for the carbon models on launch date. You're gonna get a travel roll as usual, 1-year warranty, and that's pretty much it. That's everything that I had. So let's see if you guys had any other last minute questions. It was really nice to catch up with you guys. I love doing this. I did take a hiatus just to get a little, I'm not gonna do this every week like I did prior. It's kind of going to be sporadic and a pop-up type of thing. I'm kind of taking a break from doing the live streams, but I'm going to try to stay strong with the reviews. And then I hope to pivot and transition into changing up the reviews very, very soon, where it's more of, I guess, lifestyle or just my long-term experience and how it feels and fits for the vibe for what I'm doing, what I'm wearing, and everything else. More of a casual type of thing. That's a serious bang for buck. I think so too, man. When we talk about the pricing, I mean, $429, again, a Miyota movement that's not typically used. For the carbon version, $489, I think it's a lot of value. I think it's a huge value for sure out there. Out there in the cold doing an oil change. Woo! Doing an oil change right now, my guy? You're brave. You're brave. It is super cold in New York right now. I've got the heat going, which is why the video is probably shaking a little bit. I'm not listening to Hannibal and Hanhart mention. Gotta stay strong. And I'm staying strong too, dude. I'm trying to go the entire year until I get the Grail watch. That's my plan, at least. Minus the review stuff that comes in, you know. It is what it is. tremendous value when buying a Zelos. Always. I always think that personally. And you know what? Out of all the brands, because of that limited run that he does, they tend to hold their value because you can't get it. Right? And then he has a whole ecosystem in a Facebook group where people trade and sell and do this and that. So I'm not going to say do it for an investment purpose, right? Because we shouldn't be collecting for that reason, but it's still nice to know that someone out there is probably going to like that model if you want to get out of it and go for something, another edition or something like that. And I did take a jeweler loop. I spent so much time looking at the vivid details on this, not to be super nitpicky, but just to appreciate the craftsmanship and to really get on those indices, because the indices are coded as well. I believe it's so tricky to see. It's hard for me to pick up if those indices are brushed or if they have coating as well. They do have the shine to them, as you can see, but so do the hands. And I know the hands for sure have that black coating on them. So I think that the indices are wrapped in the same material as the hands are as well, but I had to get really close to it, and even then it's very hard to tell on this one at least. Whoa, don't change too much. Don't change too much. I dig this version. Are you saying the content in general? I mean, the lives are going to be the lives, dude. There's not much I could change about that, but the reviews, you'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean. It's just going to be, if you look at if you want to see how I kind of want to transition, and it's not going to be for every review. There's still going to be the very spec heavy focus on the reviews. Always are going to be present. But if you watch my Casio Edifice Auto, where I'm talking more candidly, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Okay, yes, you confirmed that that's what you meant. Nah, man, I can't change too much. Think of it as an addition more than a change, if that makes sense. Cheers on the live. I made it a crap day better. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. You guys also make my day better, man. This is so much fun, and I love doing this, for sure. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all that I had. I believe I catched up on chat. I do appreciate all the super chats. I do appreciate all the engagement, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Sunday. With that being said, as always, I appreciate you guys for spending your most valuable asset, which is time, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Later, guys. Have a fantastic weekend. Peace.